What's up, guys? How's it going? Mr. All coming back for another ODFP showcase, another old dead famous people showcase. In today's showcase, we are going to be calling on down Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck, known as the Iron Chancellor of Germany. He was Prince of Bismarck, and he was a conservative statesman for the Kingdom of Prussia. He is going to dominate German and European affairs from the 1860s all the way to the time of his death in the late 1890s. He's going to live between the years of 1815 to 1898. And like I said before, remember, Germany and Prussia, okay? Those two areas of the world, that's where he's going to be hailing from, and that's going to be the places where he's going to influence people. So keep that in mind. Before we dive into OVB, Otto von Bismarck, we have to talk about the Congress of Vienna in 1815. Before we see the rise of Otto von Bismarck and Germany as a whole unified country, the Congress of Vienna, guys, is going to occur. And it's going to result in the total reshaping and transformation of Europe. Following the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte, the major European powers of the day met in Vienna, Austria. Okay, they met there to establish a plan of peace and to discuss the realignment of territorial borders. The European powers present at the Congress of Vienna included Austria, France, as well as Prussia, Russia, and England. Headed by Austria's Prince Metternich, the Congress of Vienna attempted to stem the tide that means to bring down, of nationalism. They wanted to bring down nationalism that was sweeping across Europe. Metternich believed nationalism created disorder because it steered or fostered violent revolutions like we had just seen with the French Revolution in 1789. The Congress of Vienna sought to restore legitimate ruling absolutist families back to the thrones of Europe and maintain a balance of power. Now, this balance of power is key to remembering because it means that not one nation could have all the power, and they could not be allowed to dominate and threaten other nations like the French had previously done with Napoleon. And the Congress of Vienna was successful. It was successful, so keep that in mind, in suppressing nationalist movements between the years of 1815 to 1848, a period in which many historians refer to as the Metternich Age. However, keep in mind, nationalism would later return to Europe and would result in the establishment of Italy, which we'll talk about later, and Germany as a unified sovereign nation state. Now, what happened? You might be thinking, what was going on to German lands during the Metternich Age? And I'm the man with the plan. I'm the guy with the answer. Germany, during the Metternich Age, was loosely fragmented into 39 individual states that belonged to either the kingdoms of Prussia or Austria. Now, you have to know that these states would come to be known as the German Confederation. And there were many attempts made to establish Germany as an independent and sovereign nation. However, they were put down. They were put down by the more powerful neighboring countries that surrounded the Confederation. It was not until the rise of Mr. Otto von Bismarck in the Kingdom of Prussia where we will see Germany eventually become one. Now, in order to understand Otto von Bismarck, you got to understand what was the Kingdom of Prussia, who ruled Prussia, where is this place that he's coming from. The Kingdom of Prussia was a predominantly German state, and out of all the German states, it was the most powerful and dominating of its time in comparison to the smaller states. Prussia was ruled by the Kaiser Wilhelm I, the guy right behind me, Kaiser Wilhelm I, throughout much of his life of Otto von Bismarck's tenure, okay? We have Kaiser Wilhelm I. And Otto von Bismarck is going to rise to prime minister. He's going to be appointed to prime minister. And you have to know that even though we have Kaiser Wilhelm I, he's the king, Otto von Bismarck as prime minister really was the person with most of the power. It was Bismarck who strengthened unity and power by calling on nationalistic tendencies of German people by supporting him and the Prussian army in their most famous war, the Franco-Prussian War. Alright, so let's get back to Otto von Bismarck. Let's talk about his background. Otto von Bismarck succeeded where many others had failed. He was a winner in life. Bismarck came from Prussia's Junker class, which were the conservative, landowning nobles, okay? Bismarck first served Prussia as a diplomat in Russia and in France, and in 1862, that's when we're going to see Kaiser Wilhelm I, King Wilhelm I, All right, he made him prime minister, and within a decade he became chancellor. Okay, now you have to remember, going back to the Franco-Prussian War, how did the Franco-Prussian War really change things for the German people? The Franco-Prussian War occurred in the year 1870, and it was a very quick war. It lasted less than a year. Prussia overpowered the French military, who they were going up against, and they gained troop support. It was key when they gained troop support from other smaller German states, and they took full advantage of the poorly organized and poorly supplied French forces. As a result of this, there were other German princes that looked at this and were thinking, it might be a good idea to make Germany a country, a unified country. They were delighted by the victory over France. And we're going to see princes from the southern German states, all right, as well as princes from the northern German Confederation. They are going to become persuaded that Wilhelm I of Prussia should take the role of Kaiser or Emperor. And in January of 1871, we're going to see German nationalists celebrate the birth of the Second Reich, or Empire, the German Empire. They called it the Second Reich because the first one was considered to be the Holy Roman Empire. So therefore, this second one was the heir to the Holy Roman Empire. Now, Bismarck, as he goes up the ranks, he goes from prime minister to chancellor, he is going to unify Germany. That's his key accomplishment. And in the aftermath of unification, the German Empire emerged as an industrial giant of the European continent, okay? By the late 1800s, German chemical and electrical industries were setting the standard worldwide, okay? Among the European powers, okay, German shipping was only second to Britain. Germany was second towards Britain in a lot of these industrial areas. And what Bismarck used to get up to that top was blood and iron. He used it in a speech. And Bismarck was a strong proponent of the term blood and iron. Blood to Bismarck represented the sacrifices the German people would have to make in achieving the goal of unification. Keep that in mind. Bismarck built up nationalistic fervor for the German people when he created a culture of militarism and glorification of the military. As a result, this played out in a series of wars against Austrians and against the French, and we are going to see a lot of people take pride in being German because of the victories they had in the military. In terms of the iron, all right, we go back to that idea of iron. Iron represented the need to industrialize. Bismarck saw that in order for Germany to be taken serious as a modern world and European power, Germany would have to play catch up with much of the rest of Europe in the areas of not only technology but also factory production. In addition to blood and iron, Bismarck also used what was called Realpolitik, which was his idea of political policy in which you focus on the needs of the country, not necessarily the wants of the ruling family, and keep things realistic, keep things real. He was a master of this, or realistic policies, and he based this on the needs of the state. In the case of Realpolitik, power was more important than necessary principles. All right? And we're not going to just stop there with Otto von Bismarck. He also played a role in a very famous event known as the Berlin Conference. He played a role in it. As Germany grew into becoming more of an industrial country, it began to look elsewhere for raw materials and natural resources. Other European nations had the same idea of imperializing, of taking over other places throughout the known world. They looked beyond the continent of Europe and they started looking elsewhere throughout the world. More specifically, let's talk about Africa, because the scramble for Africa, the scramble to go get natural resources for your industrialized country began to take place. To avoid contact with one another, Bismarck decided to have and invite leaders from all of the nations, European nations that were imperializing. He had them in Berlin in 1884. At this conference, Bismarck led the group of European politicians and statesmen in creating the rules for the carving up of Africa, as you see in this political cartoon right behind me. What you have to know is that he is going to put forth rules and regulations for European colonialization and trade. In this era of new imperialism that was beginning to take shape, all right, beginning to take hold throughout the world, came at an opportune time for the Germans because it coincided with Germany's sudden emergence as an imperial power under the leadership of OVB, Otto von Bismarck. Now, in terms of the final legacy of Otto von Bismarck, you gotta know it comes with a little bit of a mixed bag. He should obviously be celebrated as a historic and national figure for the German people due to his efforts as Prime Minister and Chancellor in unifying Germany as a whole in 1871. And he should also be commended for his efforts in building Germany's industries up and making Germany the industrial titan it still is today, people, okay? However, similar to other key figures, OVB and what he did for Germany, it came at a cost. And for OVB specifically, a very expensive cost. Throughout his constant need to create competition with other neighboring European states, he helped fuel imperialistic and militaristic ideologies not only in Germany, but also throughout Europe. As a result of this, competition was being created, it was being stirred, and we're going to see the outbreak of World War I eventually happen. And a lot of people contribute the outbreak to his aggressiveness that he instilled in German people of the Second Reich. Even though he had died 16 years before the outbreak of the First World War, know that the militaristic and imperialistic culture and attitude he established in Germany led to countries like Germany to look for a fight, to look for a war to break out. In 1890, we're going to see Kaiser Wilhelm II, not the first anymore, the second, come to power, and he's going to ask Otto von Bismarck to step down as Chancellor, to resign. And he's going to do so. Otto von Bismarck will resign in 1890, and we're going to see Kaiser Wilhelm kind of take the reins for Germany here. He believed in the divine right to rule, and Bismarck stepped down. Know that with Bismarck leaving, okay, we are going to see Kaiser Wilhelm kind of pick up and increase German nationalism and militarism, which will only lead to increased tensions on the eve of World War I. With that being stated, that's all I have for this ODFP showcase dealing with Otto von Bismarck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Mr. Allen saying goodbye. Take care, guys. See ya.